I just feel like it's really hard to hear the president say that he doesn't care about us being in war and that we have had troops that already died. Like, imagine if you're a family who has lost somebody to this war and you hear your commander-in-chief say, I don't care. Or imagine that you are a military family and you're afraid that your family is going to be deployed. Or imagine you're just a person like us sitting at the table. It's like, I want you to care, sir. I really do. Like, I want you to care. I want you to be bought in this moment. And to your point, when you started, is like when people lose interest is one thing, but when people are indifferent, that's a dangerous place to be. And I think those other countries in the region want him not to be indifferent in this moment, too.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, Tim, you've served in uniform.
I have, and I've talked to people that are deploying right now, that are going overseas to support these missions, and actually asked a few of them, and as a veteran myself, the comment that the president made, I don't believe in context, was that I don't care about the operations writ large. I think his comment was, I don't care if Iran thinks that I'm desperate or not. I don't care about the opinion of Iran in this situation. So I don't know that the...
Well, I mean, he was saying explicitly, I don't care if they make a deal or not, which... You know, this deal is supposedly going to keep us from potentially putting boots on the ground.
Right, and as I said, I think the president, in context, his comment was, I don't care about Iran's opinion about us making a deal or not. Not that he doesn't care at large. As you said, he's the commander-in-chief. Every time you brought up the service members that were killed, every time we've had a dignified transfer, the president has been there. He's spoken to these families. So I think it's a little disingenuous to say that the president doesn't care writ large about these military operations.
I mean,
I do think it's fair for him to say in
I didn't say
context
that
that he doesn't care about the opinion
about how he uses
Iran.
his words. And I think when you say something like that, even if it is in the context of a negotiation and a deal, we're still talking about the fact that if you're saying I don't care about negotiations, prices for gas and oil are so high. I mean, I think 20 states are now facing gas prices that have risen over $1. Airline prices are going to go up because fuel is now double for those airlines. So the airlines are going to shift the cost to the customers. And so when you say these words like, I don't care, to the average person, you know, that's not sitting here talking about this, but goes to the gas pump and is like, but I care about these prices. I care because I can't afford to fly home to see my family for Easter because I'm sure we'll get into it, the long lines and also the prices. Especially in wartime, words matter. And I think truth especially matters. And when we are not seeing that from this administration, and I think that's what's hard to digest when you see comments like that.
Yeah, well, General Stanley McChrystal, who, of course, well-known part of many of the wars that the United States has been fighting in recent decades, talked to the New York Times about, it seems his comments were about how the administration, potentially Pete Hegesth, the defense secretary of the president, the top is how he put it. He talked about being disappointed by how the top of our country is talking about military operations right now. Watch, and we'll talk about it.
I'm disappointed by the current atmosphere that is communicated from the top. I had the honor and opportunity to serve with some of the most elite forces, people who really did some extraordinary things, but they didn't beat their chest about it.
Right.
And they weren't braggadocious, and they didn't talk about, yeah, we love killing people. That's just not the way they behaved. Now, the danger, though, of some of that verbiage now is much of the force is 18 years old.
Right.
And it's influenceable.
And he was specifically talking about the Defense Secretary, Pete Hegesth. But the point that he's making is the one we were just discussing. Words matter.
Absolutely, and I think the comments that the general was talking about is like you said, the statements that were made by the secretary. And I would not have used those words, that we'll negotiate with bombs. I think it's a specific quote that he's referencing. Now, I'll also say at the same time that I won't take a lesson in civility and statesmanship from the Iranian regime, right? Who's killed hundreds of thousands of their own people on their streets, who don't have the greatest record with women or members of the LGBT community, or Americans, that they've killed around the country, around the world. I'm not going to take a lesson from the Iranians because their feelings are hurt because the Secretary of Defense made that comment. But I would not have made that statement in that context.
And I think just some of the language that he uses, unfortunately, is going to tarnish our military and has frankly, politicize our military even more so.
Sorry, what's wrong with warrior ethos and lethality? That is the focus of the Department of Defense.
It's more how he uses it in the context of we're going to go negotiate with our bombs.
Sure.
I think those words matter. I think also his focus on just the politicization that we've seen is, I personally feel, is unlike any other administration that we have seen before.
But our focus on lethality and a warrior ethos is absolutely legitimate.
I'm just saying, like, his focus on some of these words and the continued repetition of how he uses it.
But it's not.
And I'm just clarifying.
The purpose. I'm going to clarify for you really quick that the purpose of the military hasn't changed on its lethality and goals.
Okay,
I'm just saying, like, how he uses his words and like doing push-up contests in the pack is not really getting us farther.
Can we also stipulate that again? I think they'd do better served by General Caine doing more of the
I
press
agree.
briefings.
Yes,
But
totally.
having said that, during Pete's time as Secretary of War and Defense, he's had incredibly successful operations in Venezuela, attack on the nuclear facility in Iran, and so far, by all accounts, whether the politics of this current incursion, the military success has been remarkable.
I actually don't dispute
I think that
I don't
record has
dispute.
been
And
pretty,
Operation
great.
Midnight Hammer was a success. I think the Maduro operation was a success, and that shows the prowess of our military, of our joint force.
Led by-
And
he's
hold
at the top.
on, and
Led by
Operation
the top of
Midnight
the chain.
Hammer was something that has been dusted off the shelves by multiple administrations, including in your first administration under Donald Trump. That is an operation that continued to get refined under Democratic and Republican presidents. So it was executed with refinement because our military practiced that so much.
But
And so
wasn't
I'm
executed under a Democrat president.
it was not. But I'm not disputing the operation being success.
For
I actually have on this show touted, like, when he said that the review of what happened at the school in Iran of those girls being killed is under review. I think I was on the show with you, and I said that is the right language to use. That was the right thing to do. So I will give him where credit is due, but the language that he uses with our military has further politicized it, and that is a problem.
I don't think that's an accurate characterization. Again, having been one of those 18-year-old kids that they referenced in there, people are not military members. Many, I talk to hundreds of them a week. They're not politicized. They're actually motivated. They're actually ready to go execute their function to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, under the leadership of Pete Hegseth. They don't look at the politics of it. We sit here at this table in our ivory tower in our nice suits, and we talk about these things. But the men and women in the military don't have that.
I would actually push back on that because I did talk to some people last night in uniform that do feel uncomfortable with what's happening, that do feel uncomfortable with the language.
Writ large, that is not the opinion of our military.
What I would say is that, yes, that is, the military does fall under the command of Pete Hegseth. That doesn't dismiss, though, the fact that he has politicized the department. It's not even the Department of Defense anymore. It is the Department of War because of, like, there are just some truths to be here. It doesn't mean that the men and women who are serving are not going to follow command. What it does mean that Pete Hegseth and this administration have done some politically charged things.
And if you do, I mean, how do you view the social media videos that have been put out that seem to basically gamify war? I mean, look, anyone that's gone to war, anyone that has loved someone that has gone to war knows it's not a game.
Of course it's not a game, but I'll say that the facts sort of disagree with these characterizations. Our military across all the branches had the highest recruiting numbers that they had the last 4 years in the last administration. Our military was hemorrhaging. It was suffering because people didn't want to join.
It did raise
you're talking about that.
That happened.
Can I just finish my point? With the exception of the Marine Corps, of course, I have a bias. The Marine Corps kept its numbers for recruitment. But that's right, Semper Fi. But I would say that the military, the facts disagree with this point. That
Recruitment efforts were going up under Secretary Austin, under the Biden administration. Yes, they continue to go up under.
They failed every year.
No, that is absolutely not true. That is absolutely not true. It was continuing to go up. And I will say, just to get to the gamification of what we're seeing in war. I mean, you have Call of Duty videos and SpongeBob being spliced together as if it is some type of game, and people are coming home in caskets, and that, I think, is a real detriment to our military.
I agree with you that we should.
We can agree on that.
That we should take them serious, and I agree. We shouldn't gamify combat. It's a dark and ugly thing. I agree with you on that point.